Hola y bienvenido a tu podcast Súbete al Ring, el podcast de los campeones de la vida y de los negocios. Hoy tengo como invitado a Duane Murphy, empresario y visionario, fundador de la exitosa empresa de logística y transportación, Quién. En esta interesante charla, Duane nos compartió los retos financieros por los que pasó al fundar su compañía, cómo fue que identificó la oportunidad de negocio que le llevó a crear una empresa tan exitosa, y también nos compartió la importancia de rodearse de personas que estén alineadas a triunfar y a trabajar duro, y cómo la gratificación inmediata y las malas decisiones en la vida y en los negocios pueden arruinar tu futuro. Te invito a que no te pierdas este gran episodio cargado de sabiduría empresarial, la cual puedes aplicar a tus propios proyectos. Vamos pues a subirnos al ring. Hola. Antes de que empieces a disfrutar de este gran episodio, te quiero invitar a que te suscribas a nuestro canal en YouTube y en Spotify. Aunque no lo creas, muchas personas que ven nuestros episodios no están suscritas. Te pido nos apoyes de favor a seguir creciendo y a que juntos sigamos disfrutando de las charlas y lecciones de nuestros invitados. Ayúdanos y súbete al ring. Welcome to our Season 5 of Getting the Ring. This is a special episode. It's in English. We mainly record on Spanish, but I'm very happy to have a great story of a great businessman of our region, which is Duane Murphy. He's the owner and founder of Gamer Logistics, one of the biggest and most successful logistics company on our region. And he have a great and wonderful story of resiliency, real life entrepreneurship, right? And I love it. And he was very generous to speak with us and spending some time here with us. So welcome, Duane. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I look forward to speaking with you and learn a little bit more about you as well.
Thank you. I'm sure we're gonna have a great conversation. Mm-hmm. And I would like to start asking you, or giving you the chance to introduce yourself and tell us who's Duane.
Nobody ever asked me. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
You know, who am I? I'm happy to be where I am today. I was born and raised in Houston, moved out here in 1999. Expectation I'd be here for a few months and I'd move back. Worked for somebody at that time and came out here with a timeline about 3 or 4 months, and I got here and they had some financial troubles, and I was single. I didn't have any money at the time really, other than what I made at the end of the week. But I saw an opportunity sitting here in Juarez. I grew up very much middle class Houston, white picket fence, 2 trees in the front. The Lancaster 1, the Lancaster 2, the Lancaster 3 were the model homes, and you lived in one of them. We were very much alike, and coming here, and this was a new environment. You go across the border for the first time, and it's not suburbia in Houston, and I was intrigued by it. One, and number 2, I saw opportunity, so I ended up saying, we'll stay and stick this out, and 0 minus 0 is still 0, so I didn't think I'd lose too much.
Wow! And how do you identify that opportunity here in Ciudad Juarez?
Well, the company I was working for in Houston had some relationships with one large manufacturer, and they sent me out here to meet with the manufacturer.
Okay.
So I flew out here the night before, stayed in the hotel, woke up the following morning, and now I'm going into foreign country. Keep in mind, I'm this kid from middle-class suburbia, and now I've taken a cab ride into Juarez, and then I've gone into this plant. I'm the only one dressed up in a suit, obviously. I'm the only one speaking English, and we make it down the hallway, and all of a sudden, security comes down about 15 minutes into it, and I don't know what they're saying. I mean, I'm oblivious to this, but I figure I'm going to jail at this point. And so they escort me out of the building because I didn't have the right permits.
Wow.
But just driving around, I was like, there's a lot of business coming out of here. So I was like, I'm going to stick around. I didn't have an opportunity to go forward with the company I was with at the time, and God bless them. They had their own challenges. But I figured, stay. I wasn't doing anything great in Houston. I didn't have any ties, and this was very, very intriguing. So I said, well, I'll stay here for a couple of years. Obviously, it's been more than a couple of years, and this is home. I mean, this is where my family's from. But what I saw, you'd have to drive down every street in Houston to be able to get the congestion of traffic of transportation coming out of one street in Juarez. You had the maquila industry, which was very successful at that time, and I think right now, and you and I have had this conversation, the nearshoring impact is real, and you see the amount of the construction that's coming up. My only worries about nearshoring is the infrastructure. You know, they're not going to have enough. You know, the bridge line's got to get shorter, not longer, and Mexico has some challenges. But back in 99 and in 2000, I mean, there was plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
And it just took a little bit of hard work and make some contacts in order to generate income. And it was fun, you know, and so that's how I got started.
And Duane, what was your initial thoughts about why creating a company? Or it was on your blood, and what was the main intention of creating a business or a company? It was necessity. It was the pursuing to have better life, or your eagerness to fix some problems with your value proposition. What was your initial thoughts when you started Gamer Logistics?
Well, I had one company as a freight forwarding company franchise before I started Gamer. Gamer actually started in August of 2002, so we'll celebrate, God willing, we'll make it next month. We'll do 22 years.
Wow.
But prior to that, it was a franchise deal. But I think where it came from is I went to school at Texas A&M. I'm very proud of that. Went to school at Texas A&M, and you're around like-minded people that want to be successful in life, and so that was part of the drive. But it was a challenge. It was very much the challenge of, here's something that I've repeated this in my life. I look at something like, that looks like fun, or I can do that, or I'm going to do that. And so owning a business, I was around people that own businesses, and just, not great business, but, somebody who was willing to take a gamble. And I saw some of those things. I was like, yeah, I can do that, and I kind of looked around and said, yeah, I can do that. And so the making money is fun. Losing money's not. And you're going to lose some and you're going to win some. You good years, bad years, good 5 years, bad 5 years. I mean, it's both of it. But I think the joy of putting together a group of people with a common goal is a great feeling. And so to do that and build a team, and you got people come and go, and you wish them success when they leave, and you hope they leave for the right reasons to better themselves. But you know how it is when you get the right group of people and you look around, you're like, okay, we're moving forward. We're making progress. I think that's important. And then there's just the absolute joy of doing it right, taking care of a customer. And maybe you're a year in, 2 years, 5 years, and a customer's like, hey, just really appreciate what you're doing. You did it, and that's just a really, really good internal feeling. The monetary side is a benefit, but the internal feeling of saying, hey, I put this together is just, I like that.
Sure.
Still like it.
And so I was reading a little bit about you, and I would love if you can revisit and explain to us those challenging moments when you started your company and you say you cannot afford the truck, your first truck, and you asked for payments, and you was driving by yourself. I mean, I believe that's very enjoyable to remember that and to be able to start something like a big organization that you have right now, that everything started with that first yes and saying, you know what, yes, I will buy this truck, even that I will take the risk that I cannot afford. You say you can afford only gas back then, and of course no driver. So you were there, I mean, by yourself doing that with all passion, all that drive, all that dream ambition. But if you can explain to us, how was that part of your life, and how do you tackle those challenges?
You don't give up. You don't put a time limit on it. You have a goal, and you stay focused to the goal. Back in the early days, and they were miserable, horrible times, but they're a lot of fun to talk about today because they're in the past. when I was with my first wife, I mean, it was every day was a challenge. I mean, every day was gas money to get to work. How are we going to get home? That's a problem later on. That's not a problem now. I remember we made a couple bucks and literally going to the grocery store, and she had like $20, I had $20, and at that point, this is not a team effort anymore. It's like, you got $20, you spend money on what you want. And I remember going to buy Hot Pockets because that's all I could afford, and that was the most money I could get, or the most value I could get for what I got. Those were hard times, but I mean, I never thought about giving up. I mean, as long as the lights still worked, we're okay. And the bill was late. Getting started in the very beginning, buying that truck and driving it, as we were talking about earlier. That's what you needed to do to move forward, and you looked around and you're like, okay, well, other people got trucks. I guess I need a truck, Well, I need a driver. Well, I can drive, We're going to skirt the law here a little bit. I don't have insurance on this thing right now, but we got to move forward. And I'm sure a couple people listen probably want to hear that. But I think you just kind of wake up and you got a game plan for that day. And if you do something right today and you do it again tomorrow and do it again tomorrow, eventually it's going to lead to something special, I think.
It's a compound effect.
It's a compound effect. You spoke earlier about if you're not invested in every day, you feel some sort of guilt if you're taking someone out of it.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you, and I still feel that, and I have people that work for me that were born after I started work, Wow. But I still carry that same amount of guilt. I still carry that same amount of responsibility as well. This is my job, and we need to get up and work.
Duane, talking a little bit more about that guilty sentiment that we feel as entrepreneurs, old school maybe entrepreneurs where even if you grinded for more than 20 years, right now you're still feeling guilty. And we talked about earlier that we're still guilty of not being grinding. I mean, over there knocking doors on customers and doing this and that. Do you think that it's something that the new generations lost already? Or what do you think about the new wave of thinking that they say you gotta work smart? I mean, smart, and you will do, more things, more productive and all that, and that's old school. That no longer it's no longer a good practice because it burns you out, it separates families, and it costs mental health and all those things, right? So what's your opinion on those topics?
I don't get it. I just absolutely don't get it.
Okay.
I've had those conversations with people that look, Mr. Murphy, I appreciate what you're doing, but I'm worried about these things in my life, and I don't want these additional stress factors, and I don't want this, and I can't afford to put in that additional time. Okay, but I don't relate to it. I mean, I don't know if you do, but I look at some of that and I'm like, I don't know the formula for success that says I can't do more. I don't know if that I don't see how that works, but for somebody it's working,
Do you think it's working for some people right now?
No, I don't think it's working. I think for them it's probably working, but I think you can talk yourself into a corner of it being okay for being accepting less responsibility, accepting less challenges. The people that are going to win the race are the people that get to the line early and run like hell.
Yeah.
Right? The people that are like, I'm going to stretch a bit longer. You can get started without me. The race is too long. That have some reasoning. I don't see success in that.
And you know what, Duane? The bad thing about that is that they think like that, and the worst thing is that they expect to have more than the guys that grind it, right? More than the guys that are early there, that are, doing the whole job, everything that is necessary, putting the hours and all that. They believe sometimes that they deserve that success or even more. And I believe sometimes it's when everything collides and starts the frustration, right, of young people that expect a lot of success, monetary success or lifestyle, all that, without putting the necessary work, and because it's very well received. People embrace that new generation that think that way, and I believe sometimes that creates a lot of health problems, right? Because it's a lot of frustration, depression, because they cannot achieve, quickly and easily what they expect, and they don't understand that having the success, it takes time. It takes a lot of time.
Takes a lot of time.
And one brick after other brick building, right?
Yeah. Everybody you speak with that's been successful, I don't think by just won the lotto and started out and had a good business the following day, And I think if you're going to get married and raise kids and stuff like that, you want them to have a good foundation, right? We want to make sure our kids got food and shoes and go to school. You need to take some of those gambles, I think, when you're young. Like I said, if I got $0 and I lose $100, I haven't really lost much, but you don't want to have a regret. You don't want to go down a path of security. If somebody wants to get business for themselves, and you don't want to go down that path of security for 10, 15 years, and all of a sudden you're 35, 40, and you're like, okay, I'm going to start it now. And maybe it works, and I hope it does. But you got to take some gambles along the way, and you got to make some sacrifices along the way. That's my belief. And not just my belief, that's my experience.
Yeah. Duane, if you have to start all over again, what will you do different at the beginning? That your first stage as an entrepreneur?
Boy, there are good times to talk about now. I don't know if I would go back and change anything. I would have made better decisions. If I could go back today, 22 years later, boy, it would have been a lot quicker to get where we got. But those experiences I had help you make decisions 20 years later. As we have grown in the business, and I formed up with my partner, Jaime and Jose, back in 2013, if I knew then what I know now, it would be off. But those experiences, I'm using those experiences to make decisions today about people, about investment, about saving, about preparing for tomorrow, about, when things are good, but you're going to have some bad days coming. And we saw transportation has been challenging. And so I read a lot of publications, see a lot of people go bankrupt and stuff like that. And we've had some issues, but I think we're doing okay for the most part.
¿Problemas en tu viaje como emprendedor o en tu negocio? 80% del éxito de los negocios es psicología y mentalidad. El otro 20% es la mecánica y la operación. Te dejo la información para mi sparring empresarial 1 a 1. Súbete al ring. Continuamos. And Duane, in terms of logistics, talking about logistics, it's very well known here in our region, where we live in the border, Paso Juarez, but I think it's the same in all the border, that a lot of people that, and I was talking about that on the panel, remember? That a lot of people, it catch my attention that a lot of people that grab or save some money, they immediately, I don't know why, start thinking like, okay, with this money, I will buy a truck and I will be a driver and I will make a ton of money. And they start, and yes, they put the work, they put the hours and the efforts and start making some money and good money and better than in other regular job. But a lot of them, high percentage of people that start a business like that, they ended up losing everything, even they ended up worse than they were at the beginning.
Yep.
So what's your opinion about that? About that kind of like, how do we call that movement or that market that everyone tries to approach that way? When they save money, they want a truck, start looking, they believe they're going to be rich. But unfortunately, a lot of them, they didn't, or they don't reach success.
it's hard to get success if you got one truck and somebody's going to double the money because they got two trucks, triple the money with three trucks. That's not how it works. I mean, it certainly I haven't seen it be very successful. I mean, you have to be prepared for the bad days. You know, we talked earlier, and bad times will come.
Yeah.
And you will not know when they're coming. And when they do, you better be prepared. Mm-hmm. And if you've taken every ounce of profit you got and spent it on Cancun and Disney World and a big house, what are you going to have it when that problem comes? You're not going to have anything to take care of that problem. And I think that's a challenge. I think the longer I've been in business and stuff, you got to be prepared for tomorrow. And you got to be thinking today what's going to happen in 5 years. And be prepared for that. And make good decisions today, not about what makes you happy today, but what's going to grow your business in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years from now. And if you're not doing that, then you you might or might not have some struggles. But, you know, having one truck and getting two trucks to double your income is not a good business plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think that mindset that you have, is the biggest player in your current success?
No, I think there's a lot of things that have allowed us to be successful. I think number one is you want to be successful, don't think, listen. You know, the customers tell you, and you're doing the same thing right now. You go and visit a customer. Customer's going to tell you what he wants. Mm-hmm. If you can provide that service and do it for a rate that's good for him and provides you profit, you're moving forward. You know, if you just think, hey, I'm going to buy trucks, I'm going to move all this freight, and I'm going to do this, you need to understand where the market is. But I would always say this. Customers are the ones. If you take care of the customers, then you're taking care of your business. Mm-hmm. But if you can't create a business for the benefit of you and not for the benefit of your customer, who you want to sell to, you need to feel that pipeline you need to feel that pipeline all the time. Mm-hmm. You got to be constantly selling because somebody's going to leave you, at some point in time.
Duane, do you remember any, like we are talking now, I want to approach the parallelism between boxing and business, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a lot of similarities. And do you remember on your journey as an entrepreneur or in life, personal life, what was the punch in the mouth that put you on your knees? And what you learned about that, and how do you recuperate from that punch?
Man, there was a bunch of them. It's not one, and it went all 15 rounds, and we went an extra 2, 3, 4 rounds after that, kept on going. Mm-hmm. One of the stories that I shared with you earlier, and I'll go in a little bit more detail, is we were doing okay. We weren't doing great, we were doing okay. And so we had the warehouse, we had a few trucks, and we did some air freight, and things were going good. And I had one customer that had the bulk of my sales, and hence the bulk of my AR, my accounts receivable. And they were slow paying. We do $50,000 a week, and they write a check for 20. So you're always behind in the rears, and you see this building up, and you see it like a tsunami coming. It's coming.
I feel that.
And so it was right before Christmas. I remember talking to the guy, and the guy's like, "We're going to get you paid before Christmas, December 24th." Oof. Sorry, Murphy, but we'll get you as soon as the holiday's over. We got you taken care of. I mean, we're squeezing the last squirt of mustard onto a piece of bread, and that's all we got. And so we make it to the first of the year, and I get we do some more business, and I get a $10,000 check as opposed to $50,000, and it's going down. And so it's about March. I said, that's it.
March.
Yeah, we have made it to March, and I'm done. There's not enough money. Payroll's not going to happen on Friday. I'm praying to God that the mailman brings me some good news, a.k.a. checks. And I remember, that's it. And thank God we had the warehouse. And so I literally walked up to the front door, and I locked the door, and I said, that's it. And they came, and they tried to open the door. Of course, I got there early, right? So they came and opened the door, and said, when you get in? I said, it's not happening. I said, I have to get paid, and I need to get paid today. And that's it. And they didn't have the money to pay. And so I'm like, oof. And so what are you going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. I got these people got to make payroll tomorrow, and I don't have the money. I don't have time to go to church either, so something's got to happen. Phone rang. Got a phone call from a guy up in Michigan. He says, you don't understand, son. And he says, you're going to shut down a General Motors assembly line. I said, sir, I probably will. You don't understand either. About 2 hours later, somebody showed up on my doorstep with $160,000 just to get these 9 boxes. We made payroll, we made rent, and we kept on moving forward. And that's what we did, was parted out their stuff until we got our money back, as much as we could anyway, so we didn't get all back. But, that was one of those times.
Wow.
And there was a bunch of those, there's a bunch of those. I remember I got a big customer, 6 months behind. They keep on promising. I get FedEx mail. And I open up the envelope, and it's a large sum of money. Thank God. That was on Monday. And I got a phone call, 5 minutes after I signed for it. And he was like, "Hey, you get that check?" "Yeah." He said, "It's no good. I'll send you another one."
Oh, shit.
And he did. He was good for it. We got it a couple days later and went about our business. But, when you're dealing with Maquilas and stuff like that, that's part of you're part of a banking system.
Yes. You become, I say very often to my team, my company, my company as well, for people who don't know, we serve also the maquiladora as Duane's company. And yes, unfortunately, it's part of the game on this market. And unfortunately, I believe sometimes I don't know why, but the maquiladoras, big corporations of billions of dollars, they play that game even with small business owners.
Absolutely.
And they don't care. They play the game, and they move their headquarters or for payables to India, the more remote place in the earth, that it's on different hours and different time zone. It's very complex to understand each other, right? Because of the language, the barriers of language, and also they even change the terms, the payment terms. Just because they can, right? They just send you in the most of the cases, if you are lucky enough, they send you a letter to your office saying, "Hey, you know what? Starting this day, we changed from 60 days to 120 days, and thank you for being a loyal supplier." So I don't know. It's hard to keep it as a small business owner. To keep, how come you handle payroll, payables, and they want a pristine service, right? You cannot fail with the inventory, with the delivery. On terms of transportation is very sensitive, and unfortunately, that's the game we play. And sometimes I notice that sometimes it's not done even the corporation. Sometimes it's just the person in the back of the desk. Sometimes, I don't know, but it's hard. If you are not in the maquiladora market, you don't know about this horror movies that we live every day. And it's part of the training. It's part of the training, survive to this, right?
It is, and for the most part, all the customers we deal with, they're friends. These are relationships that you built in confidence, and you work with them over years and years, and you build those relationships. It's just how it works. If we've got, let's say, make numbers simple, $100 here, and then there's another supplier, $100, another $100. That manufacturer that's doing billions of dollars a year, $1 million a week or something like that. It's just how it works, So I think it's just part of it, and you have to be prepared.
Yeah, you have to be prepared. That's why a mindset like the one you have, always having your savings, not living the big lifestyle because, business first and all that. That's what makes the difference. And we say that during the panel of logistics, that was the difference between those guys buying the first truck, because you buy your first truck as well, and you are driving. The thing is that you say something very, I think that's the key. You say, you gotta understand that the money you make during the year with your truck, you gotta save at least $20,000 for repairs for that truck. If you don't save that money, you will start falling behind when you, and do you think, first year, you only utilize $5,000. You say, I have $15,000, right? To spend on Cancun, Disney, all that. Or I will buy the second truck. And those guys, if they are looking up, they they are in the third truck, right? But they don't even save the $20,000 for the first truck. And then, I mean, things happen and start breaking down. I mean, major repairs on the trucks, and the trucks start to, I mean, be unusable for work. And then it's when everything starts falling behind, and there's when guys like you, I mean, you say, you know what, I can acquire that, right? And I think that's the difference. And I think it's better Latino to do that. Like, okay, should I save the $20K for the truck, or should I buy the new BMW, or should I go and eat lobster in Vegas, right?
Should save the 20. Always save the 20.
Yeah, obviously, but it's hard because you know what? It's complacency sometimes. Like, hey, you know what? We have $20K. What can be wrong, right?
It's also self gratification. You want to reward yourself, you know. And I think we talked earlier, and the way you are is the way you are, and what you learned at 10, 11, 12 is probably the same characteristics. You know, I'm in my 50s that I've brought to this, and you just kind of watch your parents, you know, and you kind of learned, and there was a lot of mistakes I made in the early years, and broke was broke, and I don't want to go back, and so you just there's a sense of security when you go to bed at night and you're not stressing, you know, and there's a little bit of money in the bank to take care of a tire or God forbid a motor or something like that, and I sleep well with that, and that lets me think better the following day.
Sure, that helps a lot. And Duane, in regards to going back to those crazy terms of the maquiladora and that great story that you shared with us about I mean, struggling with those guys that they don't send the check. Based on moments or experiences like that, have you changed something in your company, your policies of payment? Like, okay, so nowadays, if I have an invoice that it's 10, 20 days past due, I shut down the customer. Are you doing something like that right now? I mean, change your policies of terms?
We've changed how we approach. I will say this: before, when we got a new piece of business, you sell it, you quote it, you execute, right? Part of that onboarding process for us is, okay, we've got operations involved, we've got customer service, and guess what? We got account involved. We're going to do this for you. We've all agreed on a rate. We agreed we're going to invoice you. Who's our contact in accounting? You know, and verify what those terms are. So those terms are part of the conversation. But in doing so, we're very open to what those terms are. I just kind of know what they are before. If we're going to deal with 120 day, let me know we're dealing with 120 day. If we're going to deal with 30, then that's a different conversation. There's some advantages to paying early for the client as well. But let me know what the story is, and I'm good. But if it's 120, let it be 120. Don't let it be 121. Don't let it be 180. But stick with that. And I think we adapt. You know, the maquila, as you well know, you know, they're going to push it as far as they can. We just have to prepare our businesses to be a part of that, and then make those phone calls. Nobody's going to pay just because they want to pay. So you got to have somebody calling them. We have, God bless, we've got a good group of people that will follow up on that. And so if they're a couple of days late, somebody's calling.
Hola, si quieres seguir aprendiendo y quieres subirte al ring, te dejo la información sobre mi libro de negocios, Súbete al Ring, una guía para el emprendedor de la vida real. Continuamos. Duane, what do you see as your biggest challenge in terms of business because of the market right now? What do you think is the biggest challenge in the current market?
There's a couple of challenges right now. Number one is we've grown. We hire more people. We have more people. You have to manage more people. And so you have to get all those people to follow the same common goal. And that's taking care of a customer. That's listening to a customer, following through with what the customer wants, and executing each and every time. I think that's part of it. So as you get more people, that's part of it. The transportation industry, from when I started in the late 90s to where it has changed. We have a lot of mergers. You have a lot of these big corporations. And so there's a lot of these major corporations that want to work with these other corporations. And so we're the small guy. You know, we're still a mom and pop shop. We do more than probably a mom and pop did years ago, but we're still mom and pop. And I think you got to find your niche. I think you have to do something and do it well. But there's a lot of competition out there, and we've got to find a way to do it better. And I think we're doing that. I think we find some niche projects, and we've become really, really good at that. You know, we're not hauling Kellogg's for Walmart. That's not our niche. You know, somebody else is doing that, and they're doing it well. So you got to find your little piece of the pie. And
Your corner.
Your corner, and be the best at it, and be enthusiastic, and be excited about it, and take care of that customer. More than anything, take care of the customer, and then they'll call you back.
Sure. And what is the championship that you wanna conquer in the following 5 years?
More offices. That's where we're
More
headed
offices.
to. Yeah. Right now, I want to make sure that we have more assets in Mexico. I see great opportunity there. It's just, that's it. You know, Laredo was the number one port of entry in January. You know, more so than Los Angeles, which is pretty amazing. You've got amount of foreign investment going into Mexico. You see the manufacturing buildings go up. You're seeing it in Juarez. You see it in Chihuahua. You see it in the southern part, Querétaro, El Bajío, and stuff like that. We've traveled down there. We've got an office down there. And you see a lot of growth. And so I want to be a part of that. We've got an office in Laredo. We've got an office here in El Paso, and I want to see those expand. I want to get more equipment, more tractors, and keep on going.
And what's your let's say for your perfect picture of the future with your company? What will be a win for you in 10 years?
I see the expansion of our company, and I see certain individuals within the organization today taking over the responsibilities that I'm handling and my partners are handling. That's what I will find success in, when you have educated and trained those people and allow them to grow into a position that can make the same decisions you make. That's success. Now, I want that company and that vision for us to be much larger than what we are today. That's certainly my hope.
Nice. And Duane, what do you, if a young guy out of college want to start a business in your industry, what will be your two best advice for this guy?
Number one, show up every day. You can't take a day off. That'll be number one. And number two, get up early, stay late. That's it. Show up every day, get up early, and stay late.
And do you think that's the, let's say, like the principles of success?
For me, it is. Is it for somebody else? Maybe not. I feel guilt when I don't go to work. I still enjoy going to work, and if I'm bored, working's okay, and that's still fun. So I still like my job, and I'm grateful for that. I see a youth today that is just, maybe not as motivated as what I think me and my peers were at 20, 21, 22, 23. I don't know if you feel that way or not. But do something you love. Take some gambles. Swing at the wild pitches and see if you get a hit and see if it works.
What is a project that you will do for passion besides your company?
As much as I get involved with seeing underprivileged kids get an education, I think that's the most important thing I can do. Here's a reality of the situation. I grew up very white, middle class, suburbia. There were some opportunities that were given to me that I didn't realize were given to me. Now, you go to a guy that grew up in Mexico, that maybe parents live in a small town, maybe they're, working maquilas and stuff like that. That's a hard road. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think providing some of those kids and trying to educate them more on opportunities available is what I want to do. And that's my passion outside of work. I want to be able to make sure our community, El Paso, can provide opportunities to, you can't do it for everybody. Kids got to want it, but give them a chance to do better than themselves. I think my parents raised me, and my parents were successful, God bless them. They wanted me and my brother and my sister to do better. That was their goal for each of us, and they provided the tools and resources. Well, I think there's some kids that are growing up over in Juarez, or over here in El Paso, or somewhere else across the country that don't have the same opportunities or don't know what those opportunities are. That's what I would like to see and educate more. I'm just a huge believer in education. You get in, you learn stuff, but you learn the ability to learn. And I think that's
And are you working something like that right now?
Yeah, I work with a group of people, and that's a lot of what the focus is. My wife's very supportive. We've certainly made some commitments to do some scholarships at Texas A&M later on, and I think that's highly important to me, and it's highly important to her. You want everybody to be on an even playing field, but they're not. So if we can give a few kids a chance to get ahead, that's what I want to do.
Duane, do you think that the maquiladora still one of the best vehicles to have success on your life? And my intention on this is that on a previous episode with a high executive, Fabiola Luna from One Maquiladora in Juarez, I told her that I believe that the maquiladora, it's a great vehicle for success in terms for, let's say, an operator that doesn't have education. Through the maquiladora, he's able to finish his school and then going to another level of school like a career and then maybe even a master's, right, through the vehicle of the maquiladora and having some fulfillment, right, and better opportunities that he will not have outside of the maquiladora. For engineers, I mean, you have the opportunity to really claim the ladder of success. I mean, having an opportunity to be an executive, to travel the world maybe, I mean, to have a good salary, I mean, be a good supplier for your family. And some of them, like, let's say in my case, is to learn over there on the maquiladora, the business model, everything. And I mean, taking the leap to put your own company, right, to provide some services. Do you think still the maquiladora is still a good vehicle for that?
I think it's a great vehicle to grow the middle class in Mexico because you got two extremes for the most part, and you've got more experience with this. But I think that maquila business with that foreign investment and those better paying salaries and the need for education, because those are engineers, those quality people, logistics people, materials people, production people, that group is making better salaries. There's a lot of competition over there. Ironically, there's less competition as we have more manufacturers come into the market. But yeah, I think it's a great vehicle. I mean, the people in there, I mean, they're not easy jobs.
Yeah, no easy jobs, and I believe if you are the right person, the maquiladora make you help you to be a more sophisticated professional, right? Like being bilingual and having more capabilities, more skills. And I mean, the first time that I take a plane was through the maquiladora, right? I mean, I was like almost 28 years old, right? First flight in my life, right? I mean, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And visiting a supplier in Detroit and things like, I mean, it really make me dream, make me have a passion for the industry. And I was amazed to see, I mean, big players on the company in Delphi, like guys on the meetings, conducting meetings on engineering, having a team. I was like, wow, I want to be like that. I mean, how come can I become better to be like this guy here? And I knock the doors of the offices of those guys. And I say, hey, you know what? I'm new here. How can I become a person of leadership like you? What can I read that you read and all that? I was very curious. And I mean, thanks God, I mean, I received, good advice from them. They were open to share with me some advice, some recommendations, all that. And it's fantastic. It's phenomenal. I believe that's why I'm very open to share always with others, young guys, or it doesn't matter the age, but to share my experiences, my advice on my limited experience, if you want, but I believe that's a big ingredient, right? Like to be able to share with others that you see they want to grow.
When did you first go in the maquilas? How old were you?
I was 26.
Okay.
I was 26. Yeah, I mean, I was ejected of high school in Mexico. I mean, long trip. And yeah, I mean, I was kind of old for my first opportunity. Actually, I moved from Chihuahua City because I spent 1 year knocking the doors of the maquiladoras on Chihuahua City without an opportunity. I was selling. My wife was my girlfriend back then, and I was in order to put gas on my Datsun 78, I was selling water filtrations systems to hotels and big houses. And with that activity, I was able to buy some tacos for my wife, for my girlfriend back then, and put in some gas. But after a year, I say, you know what, it's time to move on. So it's how I decide to come to Ciudad Juarez and start knocking the door there and making other connections. And my aunt gave me the opportunity with her connections to have the opportunity to apply for a job as a packaging engineer on the technical center of Delphi.
MTC.
MTC. It was mind blowing for me. Imagine, I mean, selling water filtrations on door to door in Chihuahua City, and then suddenly I was on a worldwide global company making calls to France, to Detroit, to Asia. It was so challenging, but thanks God, my boss back then, Angel is his name, he was a great mentor. He was very patient with me, and I didn't understand, to be honest, the monster, the industry.
As big as it was?
I cannot connect the dots of, I mean, how come this connects with this on my activities and this? I was completely lost. I mean, I was crying on my computer, and this guy say, you know what? You gotta do it, man. Don't give up. Don't give up. And I mean, thanks God, the guy mentored me and coached me, and that allowed me the opportunity to understand the game, the industry, and from there start building my career on the maquiladora.
But have you seen the maquilas change in the last 20 years? Have you seen the transition?
Yeah.
I mean, it was every maquila was run by some guy from Detroit.
Yes.
Yeah. And now you walk through, it's not Bob, it's not Willie, it's Juan or Jose or Javier.
Yeah.
And so
correct.
You have seen that transition where there has been more responsibility, and I think that has a lot to do. I think from those engineers, there's people in quality, there's people in production, materials engineer, technical engineers that have moved up and become qualified technical positions.
And I think, Duane, it's part of the maturity of the market, no? Like at the beginning, you know what I mean, the main guys on Detroit, I mean, they sent a guy from Detroit to be the top guy on Querétaro or Chihuahua, whatever it is. And that was very like the rule, right? And yes, you are right. Right now, you see the Joses, the Jesuses, a lot of people from India. I mean, they are very smart. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the maturity of the market, and it's changing, and less and less you see those guys from Detroit or other places, and it's a game. It's changing and it's evolving.
Este episodio es patrocinado por la metodología Scholar, la metodología comprobada que amplía tus capacidades de hacer negocios en esta nueva era. Aprende estrategia, comunicación, liderazgo, propósito y cómo establecer relaciones de negocios en este nuevo mercado. Esta metodología cuenta con el reconocimiento del ícono mundial de los negocios Joe Foster, fundador de la marca global Reebok. Escanea el código QR para ir directo a la clase. Invierte en tu presente para trascender en el futuro. Continuamos.
And how do you see the maquiladora like in 10 years? What do you think is going to change?
I think it all depends on the political side of it too, the landscape. You know, one of the things I see in Mexico, and I'm not from Mexico, and it's not my political environment to point fingers or place blame, but you need to be welcoming to the companies working in Mexico. You need to be welcoming the the tax situation is pretty high. I got no offense to that. You certainly have some policies, and we will respect those. But I think you want to welcome that foreign investment. I think you want to welcome those jobs that come in. You want to welcome the ability for the people in those maquilas to make a better living than what their parents did. And you want to see the next generation improve. So I think if we can, I say we, if they can allow those businesses to phosphor. I mean, location, right? We're right next to the United States.
Yeah.
Mexico's right next to the United States, and that's a great consumer market. Produce it here and collect those money, collect those taxes, and it's going to better off your country. If we dig too deep and try to pull too many taxes out of these companies, they will find some other way to go. These large manufacturers will stay where it's beneficial for them. But if they're taxed too much and the cost of labor goes up, then they'll do what any accountant does, is they go down and say, what's this cost? And, what if we move here? And I think Mexico has a wonderful opportunity right now.
Yeah.
And I just think you got to nurture those relationships with those foreign investments.
Yeah. And, talking about that, Duane, remember that I explained to you before we started the podcast that this episode that I'm currently helping an organization from Mexico City mentoring startups. So that organization was new for me. So last week I had a meeting with them where they explained to me, about the organization, how it was created, and everything, like introducing ourselves, right, during that meeting. And it was sad for me that they explained to me, they were explaining the trajectory of this organization, and they say that, unfortunately, when the new government of the current president, AMLO, he caught, this organization provides education and help to startups that are involved on innovation only, innovation and technology. So the new administration, the new president back then, when AMLO took the power, he caught 100%, and they say, we are not into innovation and technology. So they cut the resources, and they start struggling. And that's how they start asking for help of private sector and outside. And you see how unfortunate is that. And when AMLO, the current president, get to power, he cut completely what is here in the United States, that Small Business Administration. It used to be an entity like that in Mexico, and they cut the head of that and remove it and barrier completely. So there's no Small Business Administration in Mexico. So, and that hurts a lot, right? Because
I think so.
I mean, that says a lot of what's the projection of the government, right? They cut everything on technology for small business owners or new emerging entrepreneurs on technology and innovation. They don't want to support that. And I was shocked when I hear that and say, that's real. That's real. People don't know about that, right? Because that's very niche, and people, regular people on Mexico, they don't know about this, but it's happening.
The smart people are going to find a way to succeed, and they're going to find it, and they found you, and they found some investment, and I think they'll continue to push forward. But I think that, if you just pull money out of something, at some point in time, it runs out of cash. Now, if you create something that facilitates and generates revenue on a consistent basis, that's what you want, whether it be tech, innovation, manufacturing, or logistics. That's the idea.
Yeah,
Ultimate goal.
Absolutely. And that's the difference that I see as for me growing and starting my business first on Mexico and then in the States. I see the big difference. I know why the U.S. it's the power house that is on the economy, on business and innovation and everything, because they give a lot of resources to small business owners. I receive free training, free programs for companies like schools like Stanford or federal government or corporations like the Nikes, free but top-notch education, and I don't see that happening in Mexico, in my country. I don't see that happening.
It's hard to get a business started in Mexico.
It's hard.
We were at a trade show down in Querétaro, and the guy was trying to sell trucks, and he was like, I got the best interest rate you're ever going to get. And I was like, what is it? It's 13%.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like,
oh, my God.
And so we are very grateful, and we're very fortunate to live in the States, and we have the opportunities. But if you're going to start a business in the States, you have a lot more resources. If you're going to start a business in Mexico, it's tough.
Yeah.
So the guy with a good idea, man, you want to see him succeed, and you need some resources to do it in Mexico, and you need resources to do it in the States, but I think it's a little bit easier. The banking system allows us to grow. You borrow money, you pay back at an X rate, and you make sure your profit is greater, and that's how business works. And I love that about the States. I think it's great. I think we live in a wonderful country.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely is. It's a wonderful country, and it's a country where if you put what you just said, your principles, like showing up every day, right? Being early, and doing the job without any excuses, it's inevitable that you will be successful.
Absolutely.
In this country. Yeah. Duane, what do you think is your best, if you were a boxer in terms of business, what do you think is your best shot? What's your secret weapon on the ring?
God, I don't know. What would be my best shot in the ring? Straightforward jab. Why? Because I like to think I'm honest. If you ask me a question, I'll tell you the truth. I don't try to manipulate the truth in order to tell you a story. It's just, it's coming at you, and this is what it is. I can or I can't, And if I can't do it, I will in 6 months if you give me some time. I got to go buy some more trucks. I got to buy some more trailers. We'll get it done in 6 months. But I would say probably straight jab be the best explanation I could give you.
Nice. Well, I think I think I asked you this question before, but I would like to, let's say, change it a little bit. But let's imagine that we are in a championship fight, right? And you will be the person on the corner of the entrepreneur that is fighting against the current market that we are living, and certainly, inflation, fast changing on the market, a lot of technology, a lot of competitors, a lot of tools on technology, right? So what will be your best advice to that entrepreneur to increase his chances of winning that fight with the market?
Adapt. Be adaptable. Don't build a business and think this is the model for the next 20, 30, 40 years, because it's not. It's going to change, and it's going to change tomorrow, and you better be ready for it. If you think that you can create something, it's McDonald's, it's Starbucks, it's whoever you go through, they remodel. There's a reason why they do that. It's because they got to retain that same type of business. You and I got to do the same thing. If I'm selling, customers buying X today, they're going to buy something different tomorrow. You got to adapt and use technology, use whatever resources you have available to better your product or better your service, to adapt to the needs in the market, because they change. And it's, I remember my father, he left work at 5 o'clock on Friday. He went back Monday morning at 8 a.m. There was no pagers, there was no cell phones. So that was the market, I don't think anybody in this room could leave the house without a cell phone, Yeah. It just doesn't happen. Or if you do, you got anxiety, and you got to take medication for your anxiety. So I think adaptability is the biggest thing I would tell anybody, whether they're young or old, is just don't get stuck, or don't have your mind believe that what you have built is it, because it's going to change tomorrow, and you better be ready.
How do you embrace adaptability as a person? How do you embrace that?
I like it, I think. I think I learn from the people I work with. There's one thing I will say: hire good people, give them the tools and resources, and let them do the work. And they will, and you'll learn more from them. The guy that runs my warehouse does a phenomenal job. The guy before did a phenomenal job. And so when it was time for him to move on, we replaced him. And I was I wouldn't say I was super fearful, but I was like, well, how's this going to work? He's done 10 times better. And my respect to him is I don't go to the warehouse. My respect to him is If he needs, he'll call me. I'll see him every now and then. Javier, how you doing? Doing good. Everything okay? Good. How's mom? Good. All right. Cool. That's it. And you read the numbers, and the numbers good, and they go up, and then you're headed in the right direction. But just let things evolve. Let people do what they need to do.
What's the first quality you see in a person that you are going to partner with?
Integrity. Yeah. Honesty. Confidence. That's the number one thing. And my partners are wonderful. But there is the utmost trust in the relationship. And I don't worry about them. They don't worry about me. If there's a question, we question. And we're going to be combative, or we're going to argue on different things. But if you don't trust that person, you can't do your job. Because every time you look at them, you're thinking, what are they doing wrong? Are they doing their part? Da-da-da. You got to have integrity, one, and you've got to just, that's your team. As much your wife and your kids, and your kids aren't going to always tell you the truth. Everybody knows that, But integrity, you've got to have confidence, because your work has to be focused on building your business and not worried about them or they embezzling money to go to Disneyland.
Duane, who's in your corner right now?
I think my wife. I think that's probably my biggest support. By far, probably my wife. My partners are there. We look out for one another. You worry about people, and you build personal relationships with customers. You build personal relationships with employees, partners, family. That's what matters. So focus on that, and then everything else will kind of fall in place. But I think just build a good team of people around you, open to new ideas. That's become enjoyable, and work is fun right now.
What's your when you go to trade shows or events of the industry? What's your strategy to create new relationships?
Meet a lot of people, talk, listen, ask questions. We just went to a trade show not too long ago in Vegas, and it was the biggest trade show I've ever been to. It was ACT. It was Advancement of Clean Transportation. It talked a lot about hydrogen trucks, electric trucks, and all this stuff. And there's a lot of mandates in California that are forcing a lot of municipalities, cities, and school districts to use electric trucks. So it was great. It was great to see. But boy, did I learn a lot. We're not there. We don't have the willingness of the entire community to make that investment in those trucks, and the technology is not where it needs to be. And so listen to the CEO of PACCAR, Freightliner, Volvo, Mack, and then they're all talking, going, yes, we can do it, and we're doing it, but that's not the end all. The guy from Volvo, Mack, he was like, 50 years, we're still going to be using diesel, So, you learn a lot. You meet some people. I met some people at this recent trade show I hadn't seen in years and stuff like that. Relationships, I think, are always important. New ones, old ones. Keep on building.
I was about to ask you that. If you think networking and creating new relationships it's mandatory, and it have a great place in success.
I think if you got the cure for cancer, you don't need network. You ain't got everybody needs. But I think for people like me and you, I think having friends and knowing people certainly helps. I think that's a big part of growing your business and being the guy people rely on. I mean, if you're doing the packaging and you do a good product and you produce it, you deliver on time, that guy's going to tell somebody else. And then you're going to get a phone call from some random guy you never knew before. But it's not so random because you did such a good job, because you worked your butt off in order to produce a product and provide it on time. That's the part of it. There's been a lot of fun. I've met a lot of people. I've met you, and that's fun. And I've met Marco, and that's fun. And I've worked with different groups and different things. I like those relationships. One of the things I like about El Paso is I grew up in Houston. It's a big city. I consider El Paso a small city, but you go out to eat and you see some people, and I like that. I like seeing people I know. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Duane, I want to thank you so much for the conversation. I learned a lot from you. It was very interesting for me to learn more about a giant of business like you on the industry. You are very well respected in our region, on our market, because of everything you say, your integrity, your work ethic, your resiliency, and everything. That's how you create this big company, which is Gamer Logistics, is one of the staples on logistics on our market. And I want to thank you for that, for sharing that. What is something that you want to say before we leave?
Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun. I was really excited all week after
It was
we
fun?
spoke. Yeah, it was a good time to come. It's fun to talk about the past and kind of relive some of those old memories. The one thing I would share when you talk about business is do it. Wake up, move forward, do it. One of those good sayings is like the best way to get things done is to get things done. So just put one foot forward, wake up, go at it.
Yeah. It's simple, right? But it's hard at the same time.
It's hard, but just get up and do it. Yeah. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Duane. I really appreciate. Thank you for sharing your great success story. I know you will inspire a lot of people. And if we can inspire just one single person in El Paso or in Mexico or any place, and what we share here, that's a big win for me. Yeah.
Excellent. Hope so. Thank you.
Thank you, Duane. Thank you so much. And thank you for being in the ring with us.
Thank you, Jose.